Hey, this is Gene. Um, I just want to talk a little about Megan Rapinoe. Um, that's my son, if you hear it in the background. Um, he's fine. He just does that. He doesn't talk very well. He's got issues, but anyway. Um, so when he's happy, he hums and says things to himself. Um, I understand a lot of people are saying stuff today, like Megan Kelly and stuff, and I think that's all fair. I don't like to do this, really. Um, I made my opinion about her years ago, and also U.S. Women's soccer national team and their, I don't know what you call it, war on truth when it comes to equal pay. Um, I just want to say what I'm going to say, and if people see this, maybe not from the United States, what they complained about was a lie. They lost every court case on this. And at some point, with the vitriol and the Bidens and the government all saying shit like it was true, eventually U.S. soccer caved to their demands. Now let's go back. This has been going on for 7-8 years, really. And I did a video like in 2016 talking about it because they were not going to go to the Olympics because they still in their mind thought they're not being paid well. They signed a contract, and about 6 months after that, they claimed of sexism, misogyny, all this other bullshit, because the men signed a contract that would give them more money if they go further in the tournaments. Right? The women wanted more security when it comes to that, even though they're the best team in the world. They wanted all this security, and they also wanted what the men wanted as well. And they lost every court case. These are women that are supposed to be so smart, so empowered. They had their agents and lawyers in the room when they signed that contract. And then later on, they said, no, this contract was basically sexist. So they lost in every court case. They didn't have any claim to it all. Even as bad as our men have been, they still make more money because the men's game makes a lot more money. We can sit there and say, of course, the women's team couldn't beat a decent high school team. We all know this. It's common sense. Even though some people, this is all started like with Ronda Rousey, when Rousey was saying she could beat up a man, and people start to believe this shit. And they said this. They said this about the United States soccer team, the women's team, that they're so good. They're the best team in the United States. They fucking couldn't beat a decent high school team. And they proved that when they played a team in Dallas. Oh, it's just no. There is a difference in the sexes. Okay. Now, did any man or any group sue, change their contract for like figure skating, where women get 10 times more than the men do, or gymnastics? They're professionals, or modeling. No, because men don't do this shit. So they've been pushing this shit forever. Eventually, because we're men, we always cave to women. This is not new. We get sick of them just continually complaining and complaining and complaining, and we say, fuck it, what is it really going to do? The government will pay for the extra money. They can say this shit. And then what they do, instead of say thank you, or saying this shows how great the United States is, they still hate this country. And they sit there and say that, our foundation is illegitimate, and they believe this shit. I'm not saying all the players, but their leaders believe this shit, and they think that they shouldn't celebrate the fact that they're American. Megan Rapinoe said she will never stand for a national anthem ever again. So, fortunately, she wasn't part of any started teams. So we didn't get that visual of her kneeling during the national anthem. But what we saw was something even worse. We saw people who didn't give a shit that they were standing there with the national anthem going on. And I'm not somebody who should sit there and just belt it out. But all the other countries that have been there, especially the guys that haven't been there before, they realize how important this was to their country to have women at this level. And they forget this. They think that their lasting legacy is equal pay. No, it's not. It's going to show that they forgot what really means to be American, and to actually, when you're put that crest on that's United States, that you're not supposed to be, you don't have to actually be proud, like everything in school says we shouldn't be proud, but you should be thankful that you're in the greatest country of all time. And as bad as it is right now in the United States, people, I mean, does Megan think that she would have the same type of opportunities in other parts of the world? In some places, shit, she might be killed because of her choice of who she has sex with. We passed all that shit, right? We were, you do what you want in your own bedroom, as long as you're adults. Now that's the other part, because she thinks that men should be able to play with women. Biological men should be. She does that when she leaves. If all of a sudden a bunch of men decide they want to do this, the women's team will no longer be women, because I'm telling you, there are millions of guys that could go out there and do what they did and do it better. And I don't want to go down that road, but that's the truth. But we still root for them, because 10 years ago, 8 years ago, everybody loved the women's team. Everybody did. I remember years ago, this had to be 2017, 2007. When did we go to 2007? Kyle was a Make-A-Wish guy, and we went up to see Brett Favre. Yeah, it was 2007, I think. And Aaron Rodgers, who was the backup at that time, he actually had a women's soccer thing on. Number 2, I forget who it was. It wasn't, I mean, it was somebody that became a legend, right? Because they won shit and won the Olympics and all that. And those girls never talked about that. I mean, Carly Lloyd didn't talk about shit like this. So when she said the team wasn't gelling because for some reason, and she kind of like hinted at what it was, or doing too much stuff off the field. And Megan said that after. She said that the girl asked, what do you think your legacy is going to be? Because she's won 2 World Cups, I think. And she's won the Olympic medal. I think she's won a gold for that. It's all about equal pay. That's her legacy, really, because she's helping everybody all around the world, but she doesn't have the idea or to understand that the rest of the world isn't as forgiving and opportunities that we have in the United States. And I don't know. It's just maybe I'm older, and I know we all go through this. When I was young, I had this issue too. We're rebel, we're against the establishment. These girls are the establishment, so. And you go through this stuff. The whole thing is you're liberal when you're young, and as you have a house and all that stuff, you become more conservative. And when you're more conservative, you're probably more, I'm not gonna say more American, but you're more patriotic, and you say things about it. That's not the way the world's going to be in the future. So all these young women, mostly women, because they dominate in college, in all areas except some of the STEM areas, they've been fed this bullshit that the United States is oppressive, especially against women. White liberal women like Rapinoe has never faced anything, regardless. Everybody doesn't give a shit that she's a lesbian. Nobody gives a shit about that. Never has. No, this is not 30 years ago when they were pulling people out and beating them up on some rural town somewhere. Whatever it is, we've either progressed from that or whatever. But she is, because she went to college, and all these girls went to college, and they all hear the same bullshit, this feminist theory that they don't even say it's feminism, but it's all queer theory and women's studies and African American study, and all that shit is just layered with Marxism to divide us based on identity or sex or killing the nuclear family. And she's all for that. She still will blame everybody else but herself. She had the chance. They were up 3-2 in the shootout. Clearly, they were in a great position. She puts that in. They're 4-2. They're not going to lose that thing. There is no way they're going to lose at that point. And once she fucks up, because she's the leader, even though she doesn't play it that much anymore, other people behind him all of a sudden fucked up too. And that's kind of what happens. So is it karma? Eh, I don't think so, because she's going to still be the grifter when it comes to this. She's going to be the lesbian version of Colin Kaepernick, a guy that grew up with white people, is mixed himself, can't deal with his own identity, and finds a girlfriend that's a radical feminist, and all of a sudden said, "This is what I'm going to do." And at the very when it comes to him, it was like he knew that his career was kind of like no longer a starter, and he used that as to get some sort of attention. And then once he realized what he could get from it, I mean, he's made millions of dollars out of it. These are all grifts, because none of those people ever really, including himself, never really faced any oppression. And I just wish the people that were older, like myself, or people that don't necessarily look like me, would call them out on it, because black people that were 60, 70, 80 years, they understand what that is. Callan never faced it. Rapinoe never faced it. They're lauded. They are applauded. They are part of the establishment. Nobody is stopping him from doing anything. So is it karma? Sure, why not? Does it really matter? She ain't gonna care. As she said, it's a sick joke. She knows how she's gonna get railed in the media, but she don't care, because she's gonna get that money, and she's gonna live her life. She's gonna push this thing. We don't need a man. We don't need all this shit. Although everything that just built where they played in, all those stadiums that were created, were always made by men. So, it's you wait to at some point, people usually wake up. It's kind of hard to be when you're part of that, when you're going to always be in that, and people are always going to say you're somebody to be looked up to. Like ESPN basically said this whole thing today, that she's a patriotic person. Why? She defames the idea of being American. I'm not saying that you should. Again, there are a lot of people say we shouldn't pledge to the flag, because it's almost kind of weird. I mean, old days, people forget, we did the same shit that the Nazis did. We had a Roman salute that we used to do to the flag. People don't want to remember that, but we did. So we changed it to like over the yard and whatever. But anyway, that's about my thoughts on her. I don't think she's going to be one and done. I think that she's going to be doing something else. She's going to still want to be relevant, because she loves the attention. This is the same woman that they're up 6-7-0. She scores a goal and she has to look like a flaming flamingo out there. That's not. And the way that they cheated the other teams, like, we've done so much because my legacy is equal play around all these women around the world. But when you play them, you have no class when you play them. And I guess they get exactly what they do, or they got exactly what they deserved. Just like when they didn't win that world or that Olympics, they went there, they didn't win it. This is back then when again, I love this team. I've watched them when it was very difficult to watch them. It was hard to find them. I'm talking way back in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. So what they become, it's unfortunate. All right, let me know in the comments what you think, and you guys have a good day, and hopefully there'll be some comments we can talk to. I think that most people are going to be on my side on this. There's just I don't give a shit that they lost, and yes, the world is catching up, but there are hundreds, thousands, millions of kids that want to play for the United States, and they love this country to a point, right? And I hate the fact that these people are built up to this pillar or this pinnacle, and they just don't like the United States, because based on this idea of what we are, and they don't really understand what the founders created. It is the greatest society of all time, and we continually are killing our own self when it's all right there. And I don't know why. I mean, that's another video. But I'm going to stop right now. You guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you soon.